Welcome to Crafted Nest, your calm corner on the internet for real-life DIY garden ideas, repurposed projects, and serene living with soil-stained hands. In today's video, we've gathered 15 brilliant, budget-friendly garden tools and design ideas that truly work. No gimmicks, no overpriced trends, just practical things that have made real gardeners' lives easier and their plants happier. From fabric grow bags and vertical vine kits to solar drip lines and glass jar garden walls. This episode walks you through warm, achievable moments you can recreate right where you are. Each idea is based on a simple principle: observe, imitate, and gently improve. The same method we love here at Crafted Nest. We've also included timestamps so you can skip to the ideas that fit your space best. And if anything in this video sparks your curiosity, feel free to ask in the comments below. If you love ideas that are practical, peaceful, and truly doable, don't forget to subscribe to Crafted Nest. Join our growing community of gentle makers who believe creativity should be grounded, beautiful, and built to last. There's a quiet miracle that unfolds when soil touches cloth and sunlight kisses leaves. At the back corner of Mia's tiny patio, where concrete meets fence and hope once wilted, a row of black fabric grow bags now breathes life into the morning. These aren't just containers. They're soft cradles for her seasonal dreams. Lettuces curl in gentle green rosettes. Cherry tomatoes blush as they ripen in clusters, and a bold basil plant fans its fragrant leaves like it's trying to catch the wind. Mia didn't begin with much. A tight budget, no garden bed, just an old balcony that caught a good few hours of sun. But with these fabric grow bags, cheap, foldable, and generous, she began. They hold more than soil. They hold the confidence to start. The breathable fabric keeps the roots cool and free, and drainage, it takes care of itself. Water flows out gently, never pooling, never drowning. No rotted roots, no heavy pots, just breath, sunlight, and small harvests. The bags line her walkway now, each one a pocket potential. Dwarf zucchini trail gently over the edge. Strawberries peek through leaves like shy guests at a summer party. In one bag, she's planted nasturtiums just for the bees. Another, purely cilantro, which bolts too fast but smells like Sunday. What began as one bag turned into 12. She discovered something else too. When the season ends, she empties the soil, folds the fabric flat, and stacks it away like linen. There's no waste, no storage headache, no regret. If you've ever thought gardening was a luxury, too messy or too big, know this: a fabric grow bag, a scoop of soil, and the courage to begin may be all you need. Start with one, tuck it by your door, and let your small space bloom. In the gentle hush of dawn, the garden wakes not from below, but from above. Eli used to dread staking tomatoes. Every year, bent bamboo poles and twisted wires collapsed under summer storms. Until one day, inspired by a vineyard's vertical charm, he discovered the humble double tomato hook. It looked almost too simple, a coil of twine wound around a metal arm. But when strung from a beam or gutter, suddenly a whole garden could rise. Now, in his compact yard, vining crops float like green chandeliers. Indeterminate tomatoes stretch skyward, dancing with pole beans in a slow waltz. Cucumber tendrils find their way without crowding their neighbors, each clipped neatly along the twine. A few melons dangle in soft hammocks like sleepy fruit cradles, swaying gently whenever the wind speaks. The magic isn't just in space saving, it's in strength. With each breeze, the plants lean into their hangers, stress absorbed like a tree in wind. The hooks hold firm, twine unfurling just as much as needed, while little clips guide the stems with the tenderness of a garden choreographer. For anyone with a fence, a pergola, even a clothesline, you have a trellis waiting to bloom. Clip, wind, guide. The system is endlessly expandable, rearrangeable, and surprisingly serene. What Eli found wasn't just support for plants. It was a system that allowed the garden to lift itself. And in the quiet afternoon light, as the sun threads through hanging vines, he walks beneath them, grateful for a garden that learned to stand tall. Some of the strongest things in a garden are the ones you hardly see. Sophia never liked tying knots. Every spring, she'd start with good intentions, twine cloth strips, rubber bands. By mid-season, her vines were a tangled ballet of guesswork, until she found these tiny green helpers. Plant clips, feather-light but firm, patient but precise. Now her tomato garden climbs with grace. Each plant clip is like a gentle hand, holding the stem just so, never too tight, never too loose. They click in with a soft snap, a sound she now associates with order, with possibility. Cucumbers curl upward in tidy lines. Beans trace their vertical journey with the help of these subtle supports. Even the wandering squash seems to find purpose once it's clipped in place. Nothing pinches, nothing bruises. The plant grows where it wants. The clip just nudges it toward the sun. There's something peaceful about the way these clips disappear into the foliage. They let the garden shine, doing their work in silence. And when the season turns, they come off just as easily, washed, dried, stored away like miniature tools of magic. If your garden has ever felt unruly, overgrown, or simply chaotic, maybe it's not your plants, it's your plan. And perhaps what you need isn't another heavy structure or complicated rig. Just a few invisible guides to help your vines remember their path. With a handful of plant clips and a morning to spare, you can turn any wild green sprawl into a soft, upright melody of growth. In a world ruled by weather, protection is power, but in the garden, it can also be poetry. Caleb's garden used to wither in waves. Too hot in July, too bug-bitten in fall, and frostbitten by November. He thought he needed expensive greenhouses, bulky frames, something beyond reach. Then he bent a length of gray conduit and created an arch. Just one, then another, then a row, a cathedral of PVC hoops over his raised beds. With these simple bones, the seasons began to soften. In summer, sheer shade cloth billowed gently above the tomatoes, cooling their crowns as bees wandered in. In fall, fine netting formed a barely their fortress, keeping out cabbage worms and beetles without chemicals or fuss. When winter crept in, frost cloth settled like a whisper over the hoops, catching the morning frost like lace. The genius was in the simplicity. Each hoop was anchored with a screw or a bracket, nothing fancy. PVC clips held the covers like strong fingers. The materials cost less than a night out, and they held back wind, sun, pests, and chill like a gentle barrier between hope and harm. It wasn't perfect. Nothing ever is. A storm might tug the cloth loose. A curious cat might hide inside. But the hoops gave Caleb the one thing a gardener values more than tools or time: control. A little more growing season. A little less loss. So now, when neighbors ask how his kale survived December or how his lettuce isn't full of holes, he points to the arches, modest and gray, and smiles. You don't need a greenhouse to grow strong. Sometimes just a few bent pipes and a handful of cloth can turn a raised bed into a year-round promise. Not every battle in the garden is won with sweat and pruning shears. Some are won in silence, long before the weeds ever rise. For years, Dana waged war against the green invaders. Crabgrass between her beds, sneaky dandelions pushing through gravel paths. Every Saturday became a ritual of pulling, scraping, and sighing. That was until she laid down her first strip of weed barrier. At first, it felt too simple. Unroll, anchor, cover with mulch. Could that really be it? But season after season, the ground beneath stayed calm. No shoots, no surprise sprouts, just peace. What surprised her most wasn't how clean her paths stayed, but how much time she reclaimed. Time to tend tomatoes. Time to sit in the shade with tea. Time to watch the garden instead of fight it. That one layer of fabric gave her back her rhythm. Over the years, she expanded it beneath the raised beds around her container garden, even beneath her compost bins. She learned to tuck it in place with gravel or bark. She learned to cut neat X's where new plants would live. And she learned to trust its quiet promise that something could work hard without making noise. The fabric aged gracefully, its black surface slowly softening to gray, its edges curled like a well-read book. It bore the weight of boots, the scrape of shovels, and still it held firm. Underneath, the soil rested undisturbed, and the weeds kept their distance. If your garden is asking for a little less chaos, a little more calm, start with this. The humble ground sheet doesn't bloom or climb or catch the eye, but it is the quiet keeper of your garden's foundation. And sometimes, that's where the real beauty begins. Some battles in the garden don't need sprays or harsh words, just quiet persistence and a vacuum. Terry used to dread the mornings after a warm, still night. That's when the stink bugs would come, sleepy but smug, nesting under the leaves of her tomatoes and peppers. Squash bugs skittering beneath the vines. Leaf-footed intruders crouched in the shadows. And so, each dawn began with a soft whirring sound. She didn't plan to turn a vacuum into a garden tool, but the idea had charm. A rechargeable hand vacuum with a narrow nozzle, small enough to fit between the stems, quiet enough not to wake the neighbors. No poison, no residue, just targeted, deliberate peacekeeping. Now, each walk through the garden is part meditation, part patrol. She moves slowly, scanning leaves like a painter studies canvas. When she spots them squat, brown, armored, she leans in, flicks the switch, and with one gentle pull of air, they're gone. There's something deeply satisfying in this daily ritual. It's not flashy. It's not loud. It doesn't promise miracles. But over time, the populations dwindle. The plants breathe easier. The leaves don't curl in fear. And best of all, the garden stays chemical-free. She keeps the vacuum by the door now, charged and ready. It's as much a part of her routine as watering or pruning. She even gave it a name, Buzz, because in a garden full of life, sometimes a hum of protection is the softest sound of all. For those tired of spraying, guessing, or losing harvests, know this. One quiet tool and a bit of consistency can tip the balance back toward the blooms.